first piece we're going to play for you this evening is a piece by David Maslanka, a contemporary American composer. And we're going to play for you Rollo Takes a Walk. It's based on his college experience of learning about the composer Charles Ives. And he writes this piece about what Charles Ives' character Rollo would look like if he was out walking around thinking about music. The next piece is called The Old Boatman. It's by a composer named Florence Price. Florence Price was born in 1887 and died on June 3rd, 1953. She was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. She began learning music from her mother at an early age and gave her first piano performance at age 4, reportedly publishing a composition at the age of 11. She graduated high school at the age of 16, and in that same year was accepted into the New England Conservatory of Music. Though a large part of her compositional output and works were for the piano and songs, Price is noted as the first African-American woman to be recognized as a symphonic composer, as well as the first to have a composition played by a major American symphony orchestra. This took place in 1933 when Price's Symphony No. 1 in E minor was performed by the Chicago Symphony, conducted by Frederick Stock, as part of the Century of Progress World's Fair. Price was left behind a handful of published works and hundreds of unpublished ones that are only recently becoming known. In 2009, a substantial collection of her works and papers, which was thought to be lost, was found in an abandoned, dilapidated house on the outskirts of St. Anne, Illinois, in a trunk. a house which Price had used as a summer home. Florence Price is an amazing composer, and I hope you like The Old Boatman.
The next piece we're going to play for you is Tempered Steel by Charles Rochester Young. He's a person from New York. He's a composer from New York. It's supposed to go
and talk about, through music, the testimony of one's faith and testimony of one's fortitude. And it's based on a rambling of walking through an abandoned steel factory. said, there's mind music, there's heart music, and there's foot music. The next piece we're going to play for you is foot music. It's a march.
How about another round of applause for the concert?
Oh, yeah!
Musical acts throughout history
have relied on many people behind the scenes to make sure that everything comes together seamlessly. For the Riordan Band, it's the band parents who are the behind-the-scenes people. Band parents make sure that kids are at school for the crazy early call times hours before sunrise. Then they're back to pick up their kids several hours after sunset. Band parents make sure the water bottles are filled and ready, and then ensure everyone stays hydrated. Band parents remind kids to apply and reapply sunscreen throughout the long days. Band parents donate vast quantities of food so that there will always be enough for hungry teenagers to eat as much as they need. Band parents attend competitions, parades, community events, sporting events, and every other possible band-related activity throughout the year. Band parents ride buses filled with noisy teenagers without complaint and step in to drive band members to faraway places when the buses break down. Band parents set up pop-up kitchens and proceed to prepare, cook, and serve food to more than 100 people as though it's no big deal. Band parents make sure that the band looks its best, arranging hair, shining shoes, and making sure uniforms are always perfect. Seriously, our buttons have been reattached more times before step-off than anything else. Band parents do all of this and more, and never seem to tire of the huge commitment involved in being a band parent. It's addictive. Thank you, band parents, for all that you do each and every day to support your musician and the Riordan Band. I would like to specifically recognize the Band Booster Board, who likely ended up with far more work than they anticipated when agreeing to be a board member. If these people would please stand. President Rico Toscano. Vice President, Treasurer, and one half of our very own Lucy and Ethel, Thelma and Louise, Laverne and Shirley, Elizabeth Gamera, French horn George. Very own Lucy and Ethel of Thelma, Louise, Riordan, and Shirley, Catherine Greenbaum, drum major Josh's mom, Secretary Ruth Eckhouse, Tuba Ben's mom, food and beverage coordinators, trumpet Robert's mom and dad, Brian and Jen, uniform and hair coordinators and emergency uniform repairs, Alejandra Rocha, Sax Milo's mom, and Mary Ann Baytok, clarinet Asian's mom. I have a few awards that I would like to give to a few of our board members that are seniors of graduating parents. So, Rico, Catherine, Ruth, and Alejandra, will you please come to the stage? Now, I'm going to walk to the booth. It's going to take me a few minutes because I'm old and frail. All right, but now, a tribute to our seniors and parents, we will have a presentation of our spring senior slideshow created by my friend and band parent, archivist Brian Pong.
Go Beats! So he didn't formally say, but I'm going to introduce this. Again, my name's Brian Pond. I'm trumpet Robert's dad. And Elizabeth Gamara, Frenchhorn George's mom, and I are honored to be your incoming band user co-presidents. Seniors and all band and cohort, it has been a privilege to have been one of your boosters. Most of you seniors have spent cumulative days, weeks, maybe months with me. And if you have, you know I was always pleased to support the band. And let us remember our solemn pledge. Once a crusader, always a crusader. And that at school, work, or home, we always support each other. During this video love letter to you, with crowdsourced photos from students and parents, and also immense co-production credits from saxophone Jax Toscano. Cheering would be appreciated. Tears are acceptable, and dancing in your seat is optional. So, seniors, before you move on to the next chapters of your life, forever, in this video tonight, you are young.
Archbishop Riordan.
They put their heart and soul into this season, and it shows, and they've risen higher than any Riordan band program has in the past. And folks, I know this is your last fall band review, but I am so proud, and I love you to the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Woo!
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Hi, Disney. Who's ready for Disney? This guy's ready for Disney. Oh, look who fell.
Oh, look, Chloe looks so happy to be here. I think I can think that, bro.
You ready for Disney? Okay. Are you ready for Disney?
Yes, they want to Disney.
Oh, yeah.
In 20 years, you're going to look back at this and every time the camera dips, you're going to think, oh man, I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. I was gonna be really sad. That's tough.
And you feel like falling down, I'll carry you home tonight.
I'm gonna wait. Hold on. They're coming out. Hustle, folks. Hustle. You want to go to dinner? Yeah, it's time for dinner.
Yeah.
They're walking around. Calling your band to return for the final time.
Oh.
Josh Greenbaum and Dylan DeBruni.
Woo!
Announcing leaders for next year. Flute and double reed section leader, Amelie Dewan and Samantha Grosby. Clarinet section leader for next year, Gavin Guan. Saxophone section leader for next year, Jorge Reyes.
Yeah, Jorge.
Trumpet section leader, Alejandro Salazar. Low brass section leader, Fetu Liahi. French horn section leader, Maggie Kerpinski. Percussion captain, Benji McClure. Color guard captain, Caitlin Jewell. Social media manager, Logan Wong and Elizabeth Walsh. Chaplain, AJ Daytop.
Yeah!
Quartermaster, Nathan Chang and Phelim Roman. And if the next two people, when I announce their names, will come forward to conduct their band for next year. Your drum major team for next year. Co-drum majors. Dylan DeBruni and Logan D.
Yeah!